The rain hammered against the cracked window of Maya's studio apartment in Oakland, California, each drop echoing the rhythm of her typing on the ancient laptop that had become her lifeline. The screen flickered intermittently, threatening to die at any moment, but she couldn't afford to replace it. Hell, she could barely afford the ramen noodles that had sustained her for the past 3 weeks. The apartment was a far cry from the comfortable suburban home in Fremont, where she'd grown up, surrounded by successful relatives who measured worth in square footage and stock portfolios. Maya's father had been a mechanic who'd worked double shifts to put her through school, believing education was the ladder out of their working-class neighborhood. Her mother cleaned houses for wealthy families, often coming home with stories about their children's private tutors and expensive educational programs. Maya had been the family's golden child, the first to attend Stanford on a full academic scholarship, the one who was supposed to become a doctor or lawyer and lift the entire Rodriguez family into prosperity. Instead, she'd walked away from that predetermined path to chase what everyone called an impossible dream. Maya Rodriguez stared at the rejection email that had just landed in her inbox, the 15th this month. "We regret to inform you that your application for emergency financial assistance has been denied." The words blurred together as exhaustion weighed heavy on her 24-year-old shoulders. She rubbed her eyes, noting how her once manicured nails were now bitten down to the quick, a nervous habit she'd developed during the endless nights of coding and worry. The irony wasn't lost on her that she was applying for assistance programs, while sitting just 20 miles from Silicon Valley, where tech billionaires debated whether to buy their 3rd yacht or 4th vacation home. The Bay Area's cost of living had a way of making even talented people feel like failures, but Maya's situation was more complex than simple economics. Her phone buzzed with a text from her landlord. "Rent is 3 weeks overdue. Pay by Friday, or face eviction proceedings." Maya's hands trembled as she scrolled through her contacts, stopping at a name she'd hoped never to call again: Uncle Robert. The successful real estate mogul who lived in his Marin County mansion, the man who'd once bounced her on his knee at family barbecues, telling her she could be anything she wanted to be. The phone rang 4 times before his assistant answered. "Rodriguez Properties, this is Jennifer." "Hi, this is Maya Rodriguez, Robert's niece. I need to speak with him urgently." A pause. "I'm sorry, Mr. Rodriguez is in meetings all day. Can I take a message?" Maya's stomach clenched. She knew Robert was there. She could hear his booming laugh in the background, probably closing another $1 million deal while she sat in her freezing apartment, choosing between food and electricity. "Please, just tell him it's about my situation. I sent him an email last week explaining everything. I just need—" "I'll make sure he gets the message," Jennifer interrupted, her tone suggesting the conversation was over. The line went dead. Maya slumped back in her creaky chair, staring at the business plan she'd been perfecting for months. FlexiLearn, her adaptive learning platform that could revolutionize how students with different learning styles accessed education. She'd identified a gap in the market, developed a prototype, and had preliminary interest from 2 local schools. But without funding, it would remain nothing more than lines of code on a dying laptop. Her phone rang, and hope surged through her chest. Maybe Robert had— "Maya." Her cousin Jessica's voice was sharp, cutting. "I heard you've been bothering Uncle Robert's office." "I'm not bothering anyone. I'm asking for help from family." "Help?" Jessica's laugh was bitter. "You mean a handout. Do you know how embarrassing this is? Uncle Robert told everyone at dinner last night about your little begging emails. The whole family is talking about it." Maya's face burned with shame and anger. "I'm not begging. I have a business plan, projections, a working prototype. I just you need to get a real job, Maya. This fantasy about being some tech entrepreneur is pathetic. You dropped out of Stanford, remember? You threw away a full scholarship for what? To live in poverty and chase pipe dreams?" The words hit like physical blows. Maya had left Stanford not because she was failing, but because she'd seen an opportunity that couldn't wait. Her professors had been supportive, even encouraging, but her family had seen it as a betrayal of everything they'd worked for. I have a real business, Jessica. The prototype is already helping kids at Lincoln Elementary improve their reading scores by 30%. I just need capital to... Capital? Jessica's voice rose. You need rent money, Maya. You need grocery money. You're living like a homeless person while asking successful people to fund your delusions. Maya's vision blurred with tears she refused to shed. I thought family was supposed to support each other. Family supports family when they make smart choices. You made your bed, Maya. Now lie in it. The line went dead for the second time that day. Maya sat in the growing darkness of her apartment, too drained to turn on the lights she couldn't afford to waste. The rain continued its relentless assault on the window, and somewhere in the building, a baby cried while neighbors argued through thin walls. She opened her laptop one more time, staring at the email she'd drafted to her Aunt Carmen, her father's sister who'd become a successful surgeon in Los Angeles. Carmen had always been different from the rest of the family, more focused on helping others than accumulating wealth. Maybe she would understand. But as Maya began typing, Jessica's words echoed in her mind. The whole family is talking about it. If Uncle Robert had turned her desperate request into dinner conversation entertainment, what would Carmen think? Would she see Maya as the family embarrassment too? Maya deleted the draft and closed the laptop. The next morning brought no reprieve. The electricity had been shut off during the night, and Maya's laptop battery was nearly dead. She gathered her things and walked to the local library, ignoring the stares from other patrons who noticed her wrinkled clothes and the dark circles under her eyes. At a corner table, she opened her laptop and continued working on FlexiLearn. The code was elegant, the user interface intuitive, and the learning algorithms were already proving their effectiveness. But none of that mattered without funding to properly develop and market the platform. Her phone buzzed with a call from an unknown number. Maya Rodriguez? The voice was crisp, professional. Yes? This is Patricia Chen from Bay Area Angel Investors. We received your pitch deck through our online portal. While we appreciate your enthusiasm, we don't typically fund first-time entrepreneurs without proven track records or significant personal investment in their ventures. Maya's heart sank. I understand your concerns, but if you could just look at the user data I've collected. Ms. Rodriguez, our research shows you have no business experience, no technical co-founder, and no financial backing from family or friends. These are red flags for any serious investor. I'd suggest gaining some corporate experience before pursuing entrepreneurship. Another door slammed shut. Maya stared at her reflection in the laptop screen, seeing not a driven entrepreneur, but a broke college dropout whose own family had written her off. Maybe they were right. Maybe she was delusional. But then she thought about 8-year-old Marcus at Lincoln Elementary, who'd struggled with reading for 3 years until he tried FlexiLearn. She remembered the joy in his eyes when he read his first full sentence without help, the way his mother had cried when she thanked Maya for giving her son hope. That was real. That mattered. Maya opened a new document and began typing. Day 1 of proving everyone wrong. They think I'm finished, but I'm just getting started. The library was closing, but Maya didn't want to return to her dark, cold apartment. She walked through downtown Oakland, past the gleaming office buildings where her relatives worked, past the restaurants she couldn't afford, past the life she'd been expected to want. Her phone rang one final time that day. It was her mother, calling from Phoenix. Mija, I heard about what happened with Robert. Maya's shoulder sagged. Mom, I only have $50 I can send you. I wish it was more. Maya's eyes filled with tears. Her mother worked 2 jobs just to support herself and Maya's younger brother in college. $50 was probably her grocery money for the week. Mom, I can't take your money. You're my daughter. We may not have much, but we have each other. It was the first time in weeks that Maya felt anything approaching hope. I'm going to make this work, Mom. I'm going to build something that matters. I know you will, Mija. I've always known. As Maya hung up the phone, she felt something shift inside her. The pain of her family's rejection was still there, still raw, but it was transforming into something else, something harder, something that burned with purpose. She walked back to her apartment, climbed the stairs in darkness, and sat down at her laptop. By the light of her phone's flashlight, she began coding again, pouring every ounce of her hurt and determination into FlexiLearn. They had counted her out. They had written her off. They had turned her desperation into dinner conversation entertainment. But they had also given her something invaluable: the absolute certainty that she had nothing left to lose and everything to prove. The rain had stopped, and through her cracked window, Maya could see the first stars beginning to appear in the clearing sky. 6 months later, Maya's fingertips were stained with coffee, and her apartment had been transformed into a makeshift command center. Empty energy drink cans formed towers on every surface, and sticky notes covered the walls like technological wallpaper. The electricity was back on, barely, thanks to her mother's monthly $50 contributions and Maya's relentless pursuit of freelance coding gigs. FlexiLearn had evolved from a simple prototype into a sophisticated learning platform that felt almost magical in its ability to adapt to different learning styles. Maya had taught herself advanced machine learning algorithms through free online courses, watching MIT lectures at 2 a.m. and debugging code until sunrise. She'd learned Python, JavaScript, and React through YouTube tutorials, Stack Overflow forums, and pure determination. Her user base had grown from 1 elementary school to 12, spanning 3 school districts in the Bay Area. The platform worked by analyzing how students interacted with content, their reading speed, the types of mistakes they made, the time they spent on different problems, and then adjusting the difficulty and presentation style in real time. Visual learners got more diagrams and infographics. Auditory learners heard explanations read aloud. Kinesthetic learners got interactive, simulations, and hands-on activities. What made FlexiLearn special wasn't just the technology, it was the heart behind it. Maya had built every feature with specific children in mind. The dyslexia-friendly fonts were inspired by a student named Carlos who'd struggled with letter recognition. The anxiety-reducing progress indicators came from observing how test pressure affected a girl named Sophie. The collaborative learning modules were designed after watching how peer tutoring transformed a shy boy named Ahmed into a confident learner. The data was undeniable. Students using FlexiLearn showed an average improvement of 40% in reading comprehension and 35% in math problem solving. Teachers were calling it revolutionary. Parents were sharing testimonials on social media. Educational blogs were starting to take notice. But Maya was still eating ramen noodles and wearing the same 3 outfits in rotation. Her phone buzzed with a call from Dr. Sarah Williams, the principal at Lincoln Elementary where FlexiLearn had first launched. Maya, I have incredible news. The district superintendent wants to meet with you. They're considering a pilot program for all elementary schools in the district. Maya's heart raced. Are you serious? Dead serious. But there's a catch. They need a formal proposal with implementation costs, staff training protocols, and technical support guarantees. This isn't just about the software anymore, Maya. They're talking about a full-scale deployment. After hanging up, Maya stared at her reflection in the laptop screen. A district-wide deployment would require infrastructure she didn't have, support, staff she couldn't afford, and server capacity that was beyond her current budget. She needed real funding, not the few $100s she scraped together each month from freelance work. Maya opened her laptop and began researching venture capital firms, angel investors, and startup accelerators. She crafted pitch emails until her eyes burned, each one carefully tailored to the recipient's portfolio and interests. The responses were swift and brutal. Thank you for your interest, but we don't invest in single-founder companies without significant traction. Your business model lacks scalability without substantial capital investment. We recommend gaining corporate experience before pursuing entrepreneurship. 3 weeks of rejections later, Maya was sitting in a cramped Starbucks in Palo Alto, nursing a single coffee that she'd made last 3 hours, when her phone rang with a number she didn't recognize. The coffee shop buzzed with the conversations of venture capitalists and entrepreneurs, their casual discussions of million-dollar deals a stark contrast to Maya's reality of counting quarters for bus fare. Maya Rodriguez, this is Marcus Chen, from Tech Forward Accelerator. We've been following the buzz about FlexiLearn in the education community. Your name came up in a discussion with Dr. Susan Park at the Stanford Education School. Maya nearly dropped her phone. Tech Forward was one of the most prestigious accelerators in Silicon Valley, known for launching companies that went on to IPOs and billion-dollar valuations. Their alumni included 3 unicorn startups and dozens of companies that had been acquired by tech giants. Getting a call from them was like receiving an invitation to the Startup Olympics. Dr. Park mentioned that you'd developed some impressive learning algorithms. I'd like to meet with you this week to discuss your platform. Are you available Thursday at 2 p.m.? Maya's hands shook as she confirmed the meeting. This was it. This was the break she'd been fighting for. She spent the rest of the week refining her pitch deck, practicing her presentation until she could deliver it flawlessly, even when exhausted, and researching everything she could about Tech Forward's investment philosophy and portfolio companies. Thursday arrived with unseasonably warm weather for San Francisco. Maya had borrowed a blazer from her neighbor and practiced her pitch until she could deliver it flawlessly. The Tech Forward office was everything she'd imagined: exposed brick walls, ping-pong tables, and the kind of casual luxury that screamed, "We make million-dollar decisions over artisanal coffee." Marcus Chen was younger than she'd expected, probably in his early 30s, with the confident demeanor of someone who'd seen hundreds of pitches and funded dozens of successes. "Maya, I've been reviewing your user data, and I have to say, the results are impressive. 40% improvement in reading comprehension is remarkable. Thank you. The platform adapts to each student's learning style in real time, creating personalized pathways that..." Marcus held up a hand. "I've read your materials. The technology is solid. The market need is clear. But I have concerns about the business model." Maya's stomach tightened. "What kind of concerns?" "You're targeting public schools, which notoriously have limited budgets and lengthy procurement processes. Private schools and homeschool networks would be more lucrative markets with faster decision-making cycles. But public schools serve the students who need this most, low-income kids who don't have access to expensive tutoring or specialized programs." Marcus leaned back in his chair. "I admire your social mission, but investors need to see clear paths to profitability. Have you considered pivoting to corporate training or higher education?" Maya felt her dreams slipping away. FlexiLearn was designed specifically for K-12 learners. The algorithms, the interface, the content, everything is optimized for children's cognitive development patterns, which limits your addressable market significantly. Marcus's tone was kind but firm. "Here's what I can offer. If you're willing to pivot to corporate learning solutions, we could provide seed funding and guidance to help you build a scalable SaaS platform." Maya stared at the polished conference table, seeing her reflection distorted in its surface. She thought about Marcus at Lincoln Elementary, about the dozens of other children whose lives had been changed by FlexiLearn, about the teachers who'd told her she was solving a problem that had frustrated them for years. "I appreciate the offer, but FlexiLearn stays focused on kids." Marcus nodded slowly. "I respect that decision, but it means I can't help you. Good luck, Maya." The walk back to the BART station felt like a funeral march. Maya had come so close to the funding that could have changed everything, only to have it slip away because she wouldn't abandon her mission. Her phone buzzed with a text from Jessica. "Heard through the grapevine you had a meeting with some investors. How'd it go?" Maya deleted the message without responding. That evening, Maya sat in her apartment, staring at the acceptance letter from the school district. They wanted to move forward with the pilot program, but they needed guarantees she couldn't provide without funding. She was trapped in a cruel catch-22. She needed investment to scale, but investors wanted her to abandon the mission that made scaling worthwhile. Her laptop chimed with an email notification. Dr. Williams had forwarded a message from a parent, Ms. Rodriguez. "I don't know if you remember my daughter Emma, but she's been using FlexiLearn for 2 months now. Emma has dyslexia and has struggled with reading since kindergarten. Yesterday, she read her first chapter book cover to cover. She's so proud of herself, and honestly, I cried. I wanted you to know that what you've built isn't just software. It's hope. Thank you for not giving up on kids like Emma." Maya read the message 3 times, tears streaming down her face. This was why she'd left Stanford. This was why she'd endured the rejections, the poverty, the family's disdain. Emma's breakthrough was worth more than any valuation or funding round. Maya opened a new document and began writing. "To whom it may concern. I'm writing to propose a revolutionary approach to educational technology funding." She spent the next 4 hours crafting a detailed proposal to submit to educational foundations, nonprofit organizations, and government grant programs. If traditional investors wouldn't fund her mission, she'd find funding sources that aligned with her values. By 3 a.m., she'd identified 15 potential grants and 3 foundations that specifically funded educational innovation. The application processes were lengthy and complex, but Maya had time, if not money. The next morning brought an unexpected phone call from Dr. Williams. "Maya, I have someone who wants to meet you. Her name is Dr. Jennifer Park, and she runs a foundation that funds educational technology. I showed her Emma's story and your user data. She's driving up from Los Angeles this afternoon." Maya spent the morning cleaning her apartment and practicing her pitch one more time. Dr. Park arrived promptly at 2 p.m., a slight woman in her 50s with intelligent eyes and a warm smile. "Maya, I've been working in educational technology for 20 years, and I've never seen data like yours. But more importantly, Dr. Williams shared some parent testimonials that brought me to tears. They spent 2 hours discussing FlexiLearn, educational philosophy, and the challenges facing public schools. Dr. Park asked detailed questions about Maya's algorithms, her user interface decisions, and her plans for scaling. "I'm going to be direct with you," Dr. Park said as their meeting wound down. "My foundation can provide $200,000 in seed funding, but there are conditions. You'll need to demonstrate measurable impact across multiple school districts, maintain your focus on underserved populations, and provide detailed quarterly reports on student outcomes." Maya's vision blurred with tears of relief. "Dr. Park, I don't know what to say. Say you'll use this money to change lives. That's what I want to fund. Not just another app, but a tool that gives every child the chance to reach their potential." That night, Maya called her mother with the news. For the first time in months, she allowed herself to feel something approaching triumph. "Mija, I'm so proud of you. You never gave up." "I couldn't give up, Mom. Too many kids are counting on this." As Maya hung up the phone, she thought about her family's rejection, the investors who'd dismissed her, the people who'd called her delusional. They'd all been wrong about one thing. Maya Rodriguez wasn't just surviving anymore. She was building something that would outlast all of them. 18 months after Dr. Park's initial investment, Maya's world had transformed beyond recognition. FlexiLearn was deployed in 127 schools across California, serving over 15,000 students. The platform had been featured in Education Week, TechCrunch, and the Wall Street Journal. The Harvard Business Review had published a case study on FlexiLearn's innovative approach to personalized learning. Maya had been invited to speak at 3 international education conferences and had been featured on the cover of Entrepreneur magazine with the headline, "The Dropout Who's Revolutionizing Education." Maya had moved from her Oakland studio to a modest 2-bedroom apartment in San Francisco's Mission District, her first real home since leaving Stanford. The apartment had actual furniture instead of cardboard boxes and milk crates. She'd bought her first new clothes in years, and had even splurged on a decent laptop that didn't threaten to die mid-presentation. But most importantly, FlexiLearns. Team had grown to include 3 full-time developers, 2 education specialists, a part-time marketing consultant, and a customer success manager. The team worked out of a bright, open office space in Soma, with whiteboards covered in user journey, maps and algorithm diagrams. The walls were decorated with thank you letters from teachers and parents, creating a constant reminder of why they were building FlexiLearn in the first place. Maya had insisted on a student success wall where they posted photos and stories from children whose lives had been transformed by the platform. The numbers were staggering and spoke to the real impact FlexiLearn was having on children's lives. Students using FlexiLearn showed average improvements of 50% in reading comprehension, 45% in mathematical reasoning, and 60% in standardized test scores. More importantly, the platform had helped over 2,000 children with learning disabilities achieve grade-level proficiency for the first time in their academic careers. Teachers reported that FlexiLearn reduced their administrative workload by 30%, while improving student engagement by 70%, giving them more time to focus on individual instruction and creative lesson planning. But the statistic that meant the most to Maya was different. 94% of students using FlexiLearn reported feeling more confident about their ability to learn. That number represented thousands of children who'd gone from thinking they were dumb or slow to understanding that they simply learned differently. It represented parents who'd stopped worrying about their children's futures and started celebrating their daily victories. Maya stood in the sleek conference room of her new office space in Soma, preparing for the most important meeting of her life. Across the table sat representatives from 3 major venture capital firms, each eager to lead FlexiLearn's Series A funding round. "Maya," said Sarah Kim from Elevation Partners, "we've reviewed your metrics, and frankly, they're unprecedented in the edtech space. We're prepared to offer $5 million at a $25 million pre-money valuation." David Chen from Innovation Ventures leaned forward. $5 million is conservative for traction like this. We're talking $8 million at $40 million pre-money. The third investor, Rebecca Torres from Future Fund, smiled confidently. $10 million at $50 million pre-money, plus strategic partnerships with our portfolio companies in the education sector. Maya listened to the bidding war with surreal detachment. 2 years ago, she'd been eating ramen noodles and coding by flashlight. Now, venture capitalists were competing to give her millions of dollars. "I appreciate all of your offers," Maya said carefully. "But I need to understand your vision for FlexiLearn's future. This isn't just about financial returns. It's about educational impact." Sarah nodded. "Absolutely. We see FlexiLearn expanding into international markets, particularly developing countries where educational resources are scarce." David added, "Our portfolio includes 3 companies in the B2B education space. We could create synergies that accelerate your growth exponentially." Rebecca's pitch was the most compelling. "We want to help you build the infrastructure to serve every public school in America. Imagine FlexiLearn in 50,000 schools, helping millions of children reach their potential." The meeting concluded with handshakes and promises to reconvene within the week. As the investors filed out, Maya felt a mix of exhilaration and overwhelming responsibility. She was about to make decisions that would affect not just her company, but the educational futures of countless children. Her phone buzzed with a text from Dr. Williams. "Maya, turn on Channel 7 News. They're doing a segment on FlexiLearn." Maya rushed to the office break room where her team had gathered around the television. The news anchor was interviewing a mother from Sacramento whose daughter had been struggling with severe dyslexia. "Before FlexiLearn, Emma couldn't read a simple sentence," the mother said, tears in her eyes. "Now she's reading at grade level and dreams of becoming a teacher herself. Maya Rodriguez didn't just build software. She gave my daughter hope for her future." The segment continued with interviews from teachers, principals, and education policy experts. Dr. Richard Steinberg from UC Berkeley called FlexiLearn the most significant breakthrough in personalized learning in the past decade. Maya's phone exploded with notifications as news of her keynote speech spread across social media. Text messages, emails, LinkedIn requests, and social media mentions flooded in from educators, parents, investors, and fellow entrepreneurs. TechCrunch wanted an exclusive interview about FlexiLearn's international expansion plans. The Department of Education was requesting a meeting to discuss a potential federal pilot program. 3 international education companies had submitted partnership proposals for expanding into Asian and European markets. The Gates Foundation had reached out about funding FlexiLearn's deployment in underserved communities. But the message that stopped Maya cold was a simple text from an unknown number, arriving just as she was reviewing the flood of congratulations. "Saw you on the news. Very impressive. We should talk. Uncle Robert." Maya stared at the message for a long moment, feeling a familiar mixture of anger and disbelief. Robert hadn't spoken to her in over 3 years. Not since she'd stopped trying to reach out to family members who'd made it clear they wanted nothing to do with her failed venture. Now, with FlexiLearn's success splashed across national media, he was suddenly interested in conversation. She deleted the message without responding, but the damage was done. The brief text had transported her back to that desperate time when she'd begged for help and been turned away. Maya had worked hard to move past the pain of her family's rejection. But seeing Robert's opportunistic message brought all those feelings rushing back. The next morning brought an unexpected visitor to FlexiLearn's office. Maya's assistant knocked on her door with an apologetic expression. "Maya, there's a woman here who says she's your cousin. Jessica Rodriguez? She doesn't have an appointment, but she's insisting it's urgent family business." Maya's stomach clenched. She hadn't spoken to Jessica in over 2 years, not since that brutal phone call when she'd been desperate for help. "Send her in." Jessica entered the office looking exactly the same. Perfectly styled blonde hair, designer clothes, and the confident smile of someone who'd never known real struggle. But there was something different in her eyes, something that looked almost like nervousness. "Maya!" Jessica's voice was bright, artificially warm. "Look at you. I saw the news segment, and I couldn't believe it. My little cousin, the tech entrepreneur." Maya remained seated behind her desk, her expression neutral. "What do you want, Jessica?" Jessica's smile faltered slightly. "That's not very welcoming. We're family, Maya. I wanted to congratulate you on your success." "The success you called pathetic? Delusions 2 years ago? Maya, that was different. You were in a tough spot, and I was worried about you. Sometimes tough love is what family needs to hear." Maya leaned back in her chair. "Tough love? Is that what you call it when you told me I was embarrassing the family?" Jessica's composure cracked slightly. "Look, maybe I was harsh, but I was protecting you from disappointment. The statistics on startup failures are brutal. I didn't want to see you waste years of your life on something that might not work out." "But it did work out." "Yes, and I'm thrilled for you. That's why I'm here." Jessica's voice took on a business-like tone. "I've been thinking about how I can help you take FlexiLearn to the next level." Maya raised an eyebrow. "Help me?" "I have an MBA from Wharton and 15 years of experience in business development. I understand markets, scaling operations, strategic partnerships. FlexiLearn needs someone with corporate expertise to navigate the next phase of growth." The audacity was breathtaking. Maya felt anger rising in her chest, but she kept her voice steady. "And you want to help out of the goodness of your heart?" Jessica's mask slipped completely. "Maya, let's be realistic. You're brilliant with technology, but business is different. You need someone who understands how to work with investors, how to structure deals, how to protect the company's interests. I could come on as COO or VP of business development. For what equity stake? I was thinking 15% would be fair, given my experience and the value I'd bring." Maya was quiet for a long moment, studying her cousin's face. Jessica looked confident, expectant, as if she was offering Maya a gift rather than asking for millions. of dollars worth of equity in a company she'd mocked when it was just an idea. Jessica, do you remember what you told me when I called asking for help? Jessica shifted uncomfortably. Maya, you said I needed to get a real job. You said my business was a pathetic fantasy. You said I was living like a homeless person while chasing delusions. I was wrong. I admit that. But you turned my desperation into dinner conversation entertainment. You made sure the whole family knew that Maya was the failure, the one who couldn't make it in the real world. Jessica's face flushed. Maya, I was trying to motivate you to make better choices. No, you were protecting the family's reputation from association with someone you saw as a loser. And now that same loser has built a company worth $50 million, and suddenly you want to be part of it. That's not fair. I always believed in you. Maya stood up, her voice gaining strength. If you believed in me, where were you when I was coding in the dark because my electricity was shut off? Where were you when I was living on ramen noodles and working 18-hour days? Where were you when I needed someone to believe in me? Jessica's composure cracked completely. Maya, please. I made mistakes, but we're family. Family supports each other. Family supports each other when they make smart choices. Isn't that what you told me? The words hung in the air between them, Jessica's own judgment thrown back in her face. I think this meeting is over, Maya said quietly. Jessica's expression hardened. You're making a mistake, Maya. You can't run a company this size without experienced business leadership. You'll need help whether you get it from me or someone else. You're right, I do need help. But I'll get it from people who believed in
me when I had nothing, not from people who only showed up after I succeeded. After Jessica left, Maya sat alone in her office, staring out at the San Francisco skyline.
The encounter had shaken her more than she'd expected. Part of her had hoped that success would heal the wounds her family had inflicted, but seeing Jessica's entitled expectation of forgiveness and reward had reopened every scar. Her phone buzzed with a text from her mother. Mija, I saw the news. I'm so proud of you. You proved everyone wrong. Maya smiled for the first time that day. Her mother had believed in her when she had nothing. Dr. Park had invested in her mission, not her metrics. Her team had joined her cause, not her company. Those were the people who deserved to share in FlexiLearn's success. Maya opened her laptop and began typing an email to Rebecca Torres at Future Fund. She had a $10 million offer to accept and a company to scale. But more importantly, she had millions of children counting on her to stay true to her mission. The people who'd dismissed her could watch from the sidelines while she changed the world. 2 years after rejecting Jessica's brazen request for equity, Maya stood on the stage of the Moscone Center in San Francisco, addressing 3,000 attendees at the Global Education Innovation Summit. The same venue that hosted Apple's product launches was now showcasing educational breakthroughs, and Maya was the keynote speaker. FlexiLearn now served over 500,000 students across 15 countries, had raised $50 million in Series B funding led by Andreessen Horowitz, and employed 120 people across 3 offices in San Francisco, Austin, and London. The company's valuation had reached $200 million, making Maya one of the youngest Latinas to build a company of that scale. But beyond the financial metrics, FlexiLearn had become a movement. The platform was being used in refugee camps to help displaced children continue their education. Rural schools in developing countries were using it to provide world-class instruction where qualified teachers were scarce. Urban districts in the United States were using it to close achievement gaps that had persisted for decades. Education is not a privilege, Maya said into the microphone, her voice carrying across the packed auditorium filled with educators, policymakers, and technology leaders from around the world. It's a fundamental human right that technology can help us deliver to every child, regardless of their zip code, their family income, or the circumstances of their birth. The audience erupted in applause. Maya's TED Talk had been viewed 8 million times. Time magazine had named her to their 30 under 30 list. FlexiLearn had won the UNESCO Prize for Innovation in Education and the MIT Technology Review Breakthrough Award. But the moment that had meant the most to Maya was simpler. A video call with Emma, the dyslexic girl whose mother had written that first grateful email. Emma was now in high school, maintaining a 3.8 GPA, and had been accepted to UC Berkeley with plans to study education technology. I want to build tools like FlexiLearn, Emma had told Maya. I want to help kids like me. No, they're not stupid. They just learn differently. After the summit, Maya returned to her office to find her assistant looking unusually flustered. Maya, I have a situation. There are several people in the lobby claiming to be your family. They don't have appointments, but they're insisting on seeing you. They've been waiting for 3 hours. Maya's stomach dropped. Who exactly? Uncle Robert, Jessica, and 2 other people who introduced themselves as Carmen and David Rodriguez. Maya closed her eyes, feeling a familiar weight settle on her shoulders. She'd known this day would come eventually. Success had a way of drawing people out of the woodwork, especially family members who'd written you off when you needed them most. Send them up to conference room B. All of them together. Maya took a few minutes to compose herself, then walked into the conference room where 4 people sat around the polished table. Uncle Robert looked older, his hair completely gray now, but he still carried himself with the same arrogant confidence. Jessica fidgeted with her phone, avoiding eye contact. Aunt Carmen, the surgeon Maya had almost reached out to years ago, looked uncomfortable, but determined. David, Robert's son and Maya's cousin, appeared to be there reluctantly. Maya! Robert stood up with a broad smile, arms outstretched as if expecting a hug. Look at you. We're so proud of what you've accomplished. Maya remained standing, her expression neutral. Why are you here? Robert's smile faltered slightly. Can't family visit without a specific reason? We've been following your success in the news, and we wanted to congratulate you in person. The family that told me I'd never amount to anything? The family that refused to help when I was struggling? That family? An uncomfortable silence settled over the room. Carmen cleared her throat. Maya, I know we haven't always been there for you, but you haven't been there for me at all, Maya interrupted. Not once. Not when I was eating 1 meal a day. Not when my electricity was shut off. Not when I was begging for help. Jessica finally looked up. Maya, we've talked about this. We made mistakes, but you proved us wrong. Isn't that what matters? What matters is that you're here now because you want something. So let's skip the family reunion pretense and get to the point. Robert resumed his businessman demeanor. Fine. You're right. We do have a proposition. A business opportunity that could benefit everyone. I'm listening. FlexiLearn is obviously a tremendous success, but you're still primarily focused on the education sector. Robert Properties has been exploring opportunities in corporate real estate, particularly in the tech sector. We could help you expand your physical footprint, negotiate better lease terms, maybe even develop custom office spaces designed specifically for tech companies. Maya raised an eyebrow. You want to be my real estate agent? Partner, Robert corrected. We could create a subsidiary, Rodriguez Real Estate Solutions, that handles all of FlexiLearn's real estate needs and eventually services other tech companies. It's a natural synergy. David, who'd been silent until now, finally spoke. Dad, maybe we should... David's right, Carmen interrupted. Robert, this isn't why we're here, and you know it. Robert's facade cracked. Carmen, we agreed. We agreed to be honest with her. Carmen turned to Maya. The truth is, we've all made investments and business decisions based on our assumption that you'd never succeed. Robert expanded his real estate portfolio, using credit that he expected would be backed by family assets. Jessica left her job to start a consulting firm that's struggling. I made some poor financial decisions during my divorce. Maya felt a chill run down her spine. What are you saying? Jessica's voice was barely above a whisper. We're saying we Need help. Financial help. You need help. Maya's voice was dangerously quiet. The same people who refused to help me when I had nothing now need help from me. Robert's composure completely cracked. Maya, we're family. Blood is thicker than water. We made mistakes, but we've learned from them. We can admit when we're wrong. Can you? Maya's voice gained strength. Because I don't remember any apologies. I remember being told I was embarrassing the family. I remember being called delusional. I remember being laughed at and dismissed and abandoned. We're apologizing now, Jessica said desperately. We're sorry. We were wrong about everything. You're brilliant. You're successful. You're everything we should have recognized from the beginning. Maya stared at her cousin, seeing not the confident businesswoman who'd once mocked her dreams, but a desperate person who'd finally run out of options. How much do you need? Robert straightened hopefully. Well, if we're talking about a comprehensive family investment strategy, how much do you need? $2.5 million would solve the immediate problems, Carmen said quietly. But Robert's talking about ongoing partnerships, equity stakes in FlexiLearn, maybe board positions. Board positions? Maya's voice rose. You want me to give you decision-making. Power in the company you said would never succeed? Maya, you're emotional, Robert said, his tone patronizing. Business decisions shouldn't be made based on personal feelings. We have experience, connections, expertise that could help FlexiLearn reach the next level. The same expertise that left you needing to beg for money from the family failure? Robert's face reddened. That's not fair. The economy, market conditions didn't make you refuse to help me when I needed it. Market conditions didn't make you turn my desperation into dinner party entertainment. Market conditions didn't make you tell me I'd never amount to anything. Maya walked to the window, looking out at the San Francisco skyline. In the distance, she could see the Bay Bridge, the same bridge she'd crossed countless times on her way to pitch meetings that ended in rejection, to libraries where she'd coded by borrowed Wi-Fi, to her mother's apartment when she'd needed to remember what unconditional love felt like. You know what's interesting? Maya said without turning around. When I was desperate, when I was literally choosing between rent and food, I learned something valuable about people. I learned that character isn't revealed in success. It's revealed in how you treat people when they have nothing to offer you. She turned back to face the room. My mother had almost nothing, but she sent me $50 every month because she believed in me. Dr. Park invested in FlexiLearn when it was just an idea because she believed in the mission. My team joined me when we were working out of a cramped co-working space because they believed in what we were building. Maya, Carmen said softly, we believe in you now. No, you believe in my money now. There's a difference. Maya sat down across from them, her decision crystallizing with perfect clarity. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to help you, but not the way you expect. Robert leaned forward eagerly. We're listening. I'm going to give each of you exactly what you gave me when I needed help. Nothing. The room fell silent. But, Maya continued, I'm also going to give you what you refused to give me, an opportunity to earn it. She pulled out her phone and opened the FlexiLearn app. FlexiLearn now has a professional development platform for adults. It teaches everything from basic financial literacy to advanced business skills. The courses are free, self-paced, and designed to help people rebuild their careers and financial stability. Jessica looked confused. You want us to take online courses? I want you to do what I did. Start from the bottom and work your way up. Learn new skills. Prove your value. Build something instead of expecting handouts. Robert's face was turning red. Maya, this is insulting. We're successful professionals, not college students who need remedial education. Are you? Maya's voice was calm but sharp. Because successful professionals don't usually end up begging for money from relatives they've disowned. This is ridiculous. Robert stood up abruptly. We came here offering partnership, offering to help you expand your business, and you're treating us like charity cases. You came here asking for money from someone you once called a failure. I'm offering you the same. Thing I had to do, the chance to earn your way back. Carmen spoke up, her voice thoughtful. What kind of opportunity are you talking about, exactly? Maya appreciated her aunt's directness. FlexiLearn is expanding into adult education and workforce development. We need people who understand what it's like to struggle, who can relate to adults who are trying to rebuild their lives. If you're genuinely interested in helping, rather than just cashing in, there are positions available. Entry-level positions. Entry-level? Jessica's voice was incredulous. Maya, I have an MBA from Wharton, and I had a partial Stanford education when I started FlexiLearn in a studio apartment. Your degrees don't entitle you to anything. Your work will earn you everything. David, who'd been quiet throughout the meeting, finally spoke up. What kind of entry-level positions? Maya turned to him with interest. Unlike the others, David seemed genuinely curious rather than offended. Customer support, content development, user experience testing. We need people who can help adults navigate learning platforms, understand their frustrations, relate to their struggles. The pay starts at $45,000 a year with opportunities for advancement based on performance. Robert laughed bitterly. $45,000. Maya, that's less than I spend on my car payment. Then maybe you need to reevaluate your spending priorities, Maya replied calmly. This is absurd, Jessica said, standing up. We're offering you our expertise, our connections, our experience, and you're offering us charity jobs. I'm offering you what no one offered me, a chance to prove yourselves. Take it or leave it. Carmen was studying Maya's face carefully. And if we did take these positions, if we proved ourselves, what then? Then you'd be part of something that matters. You'd be helping people who are where I was 5 years ago. Desperate, written off, but still fighting. You'd earn respect instead of demanding it. You'd build something instead of just inheriting it. And equity? Robert asked bluntly. Maya's smile was cold. Equity is earned through contribution, not demanded through DNA. The room fell silent again. Maya could see the calculations happening behind their eyes. Swallowed pride versus financial necessity, family loyalty versus personal dignity. David surprised everyone by speaking first. I'll do it. Robert stared at his son in shock. David, what are you talking about? Dad, look at us. We're sitting here begging for money from someone we treated terribly. Maya's offering us a way to earn back some dignity. I think we should take it. Jessica shook her head. This is humiliating. Maya, you're punishing us for mistakes we made years ago. No, Jessica. I'm giving you the same opportunity you told me to take. To get a real job and prove myself through work instead of handouts. Carmen was nodding slowly. She's right. We never gave her a chance to prove herself when she needed it. Now she's giving us a chance to prove ourselves when we need it. Robert's face was red with anger and embarrassment. This is vindictive, Maya. You're using your success to humiliate your family. I'm using my success to help my family the same way you helped me. The difference is, I'm actually offering something. Maya stood up, signaling the meeting was over. You have 48 hours to decide. The job offers are real, and the opportunities for advancement are based purely on merit. But understand this. If you take these positions, you'll be treated exactly like every other employee. No special treatment, no fast-track promotions, no family discounts on accountability. As they filed out of the conference room, Carmen paused at the door. Maya, for what it's worth, I'm proud of what you've built, and I'm ashamed of how we treated you. Thank you, Aunt Carmen. That means something. David lingered as well. I meant what I said about taking the job. I want to be part of something that matters, even if it means starting over. After they left, Maya sat alone in the conference room, emotionally drained but strangely peaceful. Her phone buzzed with a text from her mother. "How did the meeting go, Mija?" Maya smiled as she typed back. "I gave them exactly what they gave me, plus a little extra grace they didn't deserve." Her mother's response came immediately. "That's my daughter. Strong enough to stand up for herself, wise enough to leave the door open for redemption." Over the next 2 days, Maya received 3 responses to her job offers. David accepted immediately, expressing genuine enthusiasm about learning the education technology sector from the ground up. Carmen accepted as well, noting that she'd always been interested in the intersection of medicine and education technology. Jessica's response was a single line: "I can't believe you're making family work for your approval." Robert never responded. At all. 6 months later, Maya stood in FlexiLearn's expanded customer service center, watching David help a 45-year-old construction worker navigate the platform's job retraining courses. David had thrown himself into the work with surprising dedication, earning 2 promotions and the respect of his colleagues who had no idea he was Maya's cousin. Carmen had become one of their most effective content developers, using her medical background to create health and wellness courses for adult learners. She'd also begun working on a specialized program for adults with learning disabilities, a project that had brought her and Maya closer than they'd ever been. Maya's phone buzzed with a notification. FlexiLearn had just reached 1 million active users, including 250,000 adults who were using the platform to rebuild their careers and improve their lives. She thought about her family members who'd chosen pride over opportunity, who'd preferred resentment to redemption. She felt sorry for them, but she no longer felt responsible for their choices. Maya walked back to her office, past the wall of success stories, photos and testimonials from students whose lives had been changed by FlexiLearn. Emma's picture was there, along with Marcus from Lincoln Elementary, and dozens of others. At the center of the wall was a simple frame containing Maya's original mission statement, written in that dark Oakland apartment 5 years ago. "Every child deserves the chance to reach their potential, regardless of their circumstances." She'd added a line after the family meeting. "Every person deserves the chance to earn their place through effort, regardless of their past." Maya's story wasn't just about building a successful company or proving her doubters wrong, though she had certainly done both in spectacular fashion. It was about understanding the difference between entitlement and opportunity, between demanding respect and earning it, between family loyalty and enabling dysfunction. She'd learned that success doesn't just happen to you. It's built through countless small decisions to keep going when everything seems hopeless. Maya had offered her family the same thing she'd given herself, a chance to start over and build something meaningful through their own effort and dedication. Some had taken it with humility and determination, like David and Carmen. Others had walked away, unable to accept that they would have to earn what they felt they deserved, simply by virtue of shared DNA. The lesson had been painful, but necessary. You can't force people to change, but you can control how you respond to their choices. Maya had chosen grace without enabling, accountability without cruelty, and success without forgetting where she came from. But Maya had learned something even more important than business success or family dynamics. She'd discovered that the greatest satisfaction didn't come from proving people wrong. It came from proving yourself right. Every time a child's reading scores improved, every time a teacher thanked her for making their job easier, every time a parent wrote to say FlexiLearn had given their child confidence, Maya felt the deep satisfaction of living her purpose. As she sat down at her desk to review FlexiLearn's expansion plans for serving underserved communities in rural America, Maya smiled at the irony. The family failure had become the family success story. Not because she'd proven them wrong, but because she'd proven herself right about what really mattered in life. On her desk sat a framed photo from the previous month's company retreat. Her entire team was gathered around a whiteboard covered with ideas for new features, Their faces lit up with the same passion that had driven Maya through those dark nights of coding in Oakland. Next to it was a handwritten note from Emma, now a sophomore at UC Berkeley studying computer science and education, interning at FlexiLearn for the summer. Dear Maya, the note read, thank you for showing me that being different doesn't mean being less. Because of FlexiLearn, I learned to read. Because you never gave up, I learned to never give up either. I'm going to spend my career building tools like yours, helping kids like me know they're not broken. They're just wired differently. You didn't just change my grades, you changed my entire future. Maya Rodriguez had built something that would outlast every rejection, every doubt, and every person who'd ever counted her out. She'd built hope. One student at a time, one breakthrough at a time, one life at a time. And in a world where too many people focused on tearing others down, she'd chosen to lift them up instead. The girl who'd once been forced to choose between rent and food was now choosing how to spend millions of dollars helping others avoid that. Same impossible choice. The young woman who'd been called delusional for believing in her vision was now being called visionary for changing an entire industry. And she was just getting started.